Good morning, Brightest Hope family. We're just so thankful that you're here joining us, whether it's live or in person. We appreciate your time. Thank you so much. This journey has been an awesome journey. It's been just phenomenal. The outpouring from people, the comments that come in, please share it. It helps encourage me as well as others. We've had some really great feedback from people that they just can't wait for another video to come out, and that is so awesome, and I can't wait to make these videos for you guys. I'm glad they're touching the lives in the way that only Christ can, and so all glory and honor be to God, for it's through him and for him and him alone only. So let's dive into today's message. And before we do have a spot on our website, brightesthope.org. There's a spot there to donate now. If you can donate, that'd be great. We still put in our paperwork for the 501c3. IRS is still reviewing ones from previous months. We're still not even up in the queue yet. As soon as it does, we will keep you all informed. But if you can make a donation, it would be wonderful. We just want to give back to the community. There's a lot of really great ideas that we have to give back to the community, but we need your help. And we need your help to do this outpouring. So if you feel that you can donate, that would be great. Excuse me. Now, on to the sermon. So we've been going through our... I'm going to sneeze again. Always comes in twos. I don't know why. All right, so we've been talking about in Exodus, and we've been looking back at Exodus and seeing how God not only is in there in that time, but with us today. And so the series has been Out of the Darkness, God's Rescue Plan in Exodus. We looked at how God sees and hears. We looked at the Let My People Go. We also looked at the blood that covers and still covers us today. Last week we talked about crossing the river. And now this week, God provides in the wilderness. So let's get into it. Have you ever noticed how hungry or how hunger itself can make us really desperate? Have you ever been starving? Now, I just took the kids to the Dutchess County Fair. The amount of smells, the food, everything, it was awesome. But have you ever been like really hungry? Really, like you just can't wait to dive into some food. And we can even get hangry when we're hungry. That hungry, angry, emotional, irritable, I need food, or you get like really tired and until you get that food in you to help spark up all that energy. But sometimes our patience is thin, and our outlook on life in that moment becomes really bleak. That's exactly where we find the Israelites in Exodus 16. These people of Israel had just walked out of Egypt, through the Red Sea, and seen God's power over Pharaoh, and experienced freedom for the very first time in over 400 years. And yet, a few days into the wilderness journey, their stomachs start growling. They get the rumbles and and their faith starts to grumble. They start asking the question, did God just bring us out here into this wilderness to let us die? And that can kind of sound familiar. Did God bring me here for this reason? Why? You've trusted God before in your situations. You've seen God firsthand work in your life. But then when we're faced with a wilderness situation, so quickly we go and question, why? We have uncertainty. Sometimes that uncertainty is about our finances, or our health, or our family, or relationships, or our future, our careers. Those uncertainties start to make us wonder, God, are you really going to provide for me? And today, I want to show you, through the Exodus story, but also in Matthew 6, that in our wilderness seasons of life, God provides faithfully, daily, and sufficiently. And those are our 3 points today. So we're going to dive right on into the first point. God sustains us even when we don't see it. God was already sustaining Israel in the wilderness, but in his grace, he gave visible and physical provisions after they complained. Israel thought that they were starving, but God had already brought them out of Egypt and through the sea. And if he could part the sea, if he could get them out of 400 years of slavery, he could certainly keep them alive. In fact, later we see Moses in Mount Sinai, when he's getting the 10 Commandments, he's in God's presence for 40 days. God provided for him through that entire time. God can sustain life. For we are from God. Life is given to us by God. We don't necessarily need the physical bread of, yes, we do, but when we are in God's presence and in his grace, that physical bread is not a need because we are there with God. And he is the bread. He is the bread of life. The wilderness was never there as a threat to them. It was not a threat to their survival. It's not a threat to your survival. Their unbelief was the real danger. In Exodus 16, verses 2 through 3, we see, it says that the people grumbled. If only we had died in the land of Egypt. If only we had died by the Lord's hand in Egypt. They doubted God's goodness and forgot his power over everything. But instead of wrath, God gave grace. He gave manna, bread from heaven. He gave quail for them to eat the meat when they were asking for meat. He had water come from a rock to quench their thirst. Why? Because his goal wasn't just to keep them alive. God was using this to teach them to rely on him. Now, the objection that we wrestle with is, if God cares, why doesn't he just give me what I want right away? This is where we tread different waters. Because sometimes God's unseen, sustaining power for us is greater than a miracle that we can witness. And when he gives visible provision, it is to grow our faith and not feed our fear. That's right. It's to grow your faith, not to feed your fear. So I want to tell you the story about George Mueller and the empty table. So imagine this. It's a cold morning in Bristol, England. In the mid-1800s, the sun hasn't quite risen yet over the horizon, Inside a simple orphanage, you hear quiet shuffling of small feet. With more than 300 children coming down to sit at a long wooden tables, they bow their heads waiting for breakfast. But there's one problem. There's no breakfast. There's no bread. There's no milk. The cupboards are bare. Most of us would panic. What would I going to do? Oh my goodness, how am I going to do this? We would start freaking out. But George Mueller walks into the dining hall with calm confidence. He looks at all those faces and says, "Children, we must be in time for school." Then he does something really incredible. He prays. He says, "Lord, thank you for what you are about to give us to eat." Now, can you picture that? Empty tables, empty cupboards, empty bowls, not a crumb in sight. And yet he is thanking God in advance for the provisions that he would provide. After the prayer was done, there was a knock on the door. Mueller opens it, and it's the baker. "Mr. Mueller," he says, "God woke me up in the middle of the night, and I couldn't sleep. I felt that I should bake you some bread. So here it is." Moments later, another knock at the door. George goes up to the door. This time it's the milkman. His cart had broken down right in front of the orphanage, and he wasn't going to be able to make his route. So what did he have to do? He gave all the milk from the cart to the orphanage. That day, the children ate until they were full. God was sustaining them before the bread ever hit the table. They didn't see it, but his provisions were already in motion. And sometimes we don't see the miracle happening, especially when it's behind the scenes, because we are living in that miracle. What if right now God is arranging what you need? That you haven't seen it yet. You haven't heard the knock at the door yet, but it's being arranged. You may be in the wilderness. Where you are, you may not see what you think you need. But what if God is sustaining you right now in ways that we can't measure? The breath in our lungs when we breathe in, the strength that keeps us moving forward, to keep getting up, to keep going. That's the proof that he is at work. Trust the God who sustains in secret as much as the God who provides in the public. And if God provides faithfully, the next question is, how does he provide? Well, God provides daily. God's provision is not stockpiled. It is served fresh, anew, each and every day. Israelites could not store the manna overnight. It would spoil come the morning. Only except for the Sabbath could they have it last the night. But if they were storing it, it would reek, it would stink, it was awful, because God wanted them to depend on him daily. He was showing you need to depend on me daily. Not just to hoard in, tomorrow's security for today. You have to live for today. In Exodus 16:19 through 20, Moses said to them, "No one is to keep any of it until morning." However, some pay no attention. We all know those kind of people, right? We don't, they're not pay. Some paid no attention. It was full of maggots and began to smell by the morning. The lesson is that God provides enough for you today. He'll provide enough for you tomorrow. He'll provide enough for you the next day, and the next day, and the next day. We only have to worry about today. And we don't even have to worry, because God's going to provide. Jesus echoes this in Matthew 6. "Do not worry, saying, 'What shall we eat?' But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well." That's all we have to do. We have to seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and everything else is provided unto us. That's it. That's all. That's our job. And our objection is, well, what about tomorrow? Trust me today. God tells us, trust me today. Trust in me today, and I will provide not only today, but I will provide tomorrow. Trust in me today, and trust in me tomorrow. There was a Texas family who, after a storm, had some interesting stories that happened. Picture this. It was a quiet neighborhood in Texas after Hurricane Harvey hit in 2017. The streets were flooded. Their homes and other houses around them were destroyed. Cars were upside down like they were toys in a sandbox. And in the middle of the devastation stands a young couple with 2 kids. Their home was gone. Their car was nowhere to be seen. Their bank account nearly empty. And they had nothing except for a prayer. They said, "Lord, just give us what we need for today." The next morning, someone knocked on their door. It was Meals on Wheels with supplies, gas cards, little by little. God carried them through each and every day. A neighbor came over with breakfast. Later on, another person showed up with clothes. By evening, a friend offered them and their family a place to stay. Provision after provision, little by little, God carried them through, not a month's worth at a time, but a blessing within each and every single day. But the day's worth of blessing kept coming because they trusted Him. Give us the provision for this day, for today. And when they finally moved back into their rebuilt home, they said, "We learned something we never knew before. God's mercies really are new every morning." Maybe you want to have God give you the 30-day plan, but He says, "I'll give you daily bread, not monthly bread." Because daily dependence keeps our hearts close to God. So stop trying to control tomorrow with today's strength. The Bible even tells us tomorrow's going to have its own worries. Just worry about today, right? Have your strength for today. And then instead of saying, "Man, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to make it this year, this month. Man, it's been hard. It's been difficult. We've been there. But when we rely on God, God makes a way. When we start saying, with God's help, I can make it. I can make it today. And that's all we need to do. For tomorrow, we get up again and we say, with God's help, I can make it today. So God provides not only for us faithfully, not only does it provides for us daily, but there's one more truth that we need. That God provides sufficiently. God always gives us enough of what we need. Exodus 16 verse 18 tells us, the one who gathers much did not have too much, and the one who gathered little did not have too little. Everyone had gathered just as much as they needed. In other words, God's provision fits your portion. We often doubt, what if it's not enough? But God's supply always matches His calling for you and for me. He may not give us in excess, but He gives us enough. And that enough sustains us in the wilderness. And it sustains us long enough to have us get to where we are going. Where the land is flowing with milk and honey. Where the blessings of God are so abound. Hudson Taylor was the founder of a Chinese inland mission. And he lived by this principle. God's work done in God's way will never lack God's supply. God's work done in God's way will never lack supply. One night in London, Hudson was down to his last few coins. And when a man begged him for money to feed his starving family, Hudson thought, if I give this away, I'll have nothing left for rent. But then he prayed, and he gave the man everything he had. And he went home empty-handed, but a heart full of peace. The next day, an envelope arrived in the mail with money, enough for the rent and more. No name, no explanation, just provision at the exact time it was needed. For the rest of his life, Hudson trusted God this way. He never looked back again. Now, God may not give us everything we want, but He will always give you everything that you need. And sometimes just enough is what grows the deepest trust. So here's the truth. God provides faithfully. God provides daily. God provides sufficiently. Now, the wilderness was never meant to kill Israel. It was meant to teach them that man does not live by bread alone, but on every word of God that comes forward from God, from God's mouth, that we live on the bread of life that is God. And your wilderness that you may be in, or that you enter into, or that you're coming out of, your season of waiting, your valley, your season of uncertainty isn't meant to destroy you. It is meant to deepen your trust. So when the hunger rises, when the questions come, when tomorrow feels heavy and uncertain, remember this. God provides faithfully. God provides daily. God provides sufficiently. He doesn't give a portion too small. He doesn't delay without purpose. He doesn't fail. Seek first His kingdom. Seek first His purpose. And pursue Him with all of our heart. Trusting in His timing. Trusting in His ways. And watch how He turns our wilderness into a classroom. That our waiting into worship. And our scarcity into supernatural abundance. This is the day that God, who sees you, who hears you, and provides for you, will do it every single day. So you don't have to lose hope. You don't have to give in to fear. You can stand firm in His promise. Walk boldly in His provisions and declare it with me now, over and over each and every day, that God is faithful, that God is enough, and He will never, ever, 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 ever let you go. Receive this today, my friends and family. We love you. Amen.